Any bit of luck there now, guys? Any bit better? Yay! For feck's sake, guys, I apologise there. Look, that's my fault this time. I'm not going to blame Streamlabs or nothing like that. Moving around systems there again yesterday, and obviously there seems to be a problem every time I move the system around. So my sincere apologies there, guys, for that little hiccup on the show. I'll try to make sure that doesn't happen again. So I'll start again. Welcome along, guys, to another episode of 420 News. 420 News brought to you by myself, Martin Conlon, and Martin's World. So, guys, I see all your comments coming through. Much appreciated, guys, for letting me know that the mic wasn't working. For feck's sake, like, it's becoming all too common occurrence here on Martin's World, and I'm going to have to change that, make sure it doesn't happen anymore. Like, feckin' stoners can't even plug in the microphone. It was plugged in this time, guys. You know what I mean? I didn't repeat the same mistake as last time. It just seems to be something technical that I don't understand here as I move things around. So I had a good old chat there yesterday with a fellow cannabis campaigner out there, Amy Brown. And in doing so, I was moving my studio from one room to another room. And when I moved it back here, obviously, I left an issue there for myself. So, apologies. Before we go any further, guys, I'd like to just take a minute just to thank the show sponsor for today's 420 News. It's R420 Supplies, r420.ie. Go check them out if you haven't already done so, guys. They got all your cannabis accessories that you could possibly need up there, and even including streetwear, you know, rolling trays, bongs, blunts, you know, you name it, they got it. And if they don't got it, I'm sure they'll go out of their way to get it for you. So do check out the r420.ie and swing on into the store that is open since this day last week now. Today is their 1 week anniversary. So congratulations to R420 Supplies, guys, on your 1 week anniversary. And nice one there, Irish, for sharing the stream as well. Much appreciated. So r420.ie, guys, check it out for all your smokers' needs. And thanks again to R420 for sponsoring today's show. Guys, also just to remind you that the charity run for Laura Lynn Children's Hospice, it is continuing. We are on day 24 today of the challenge. I will be going out running 14 kilometres again later this evening, keeping up with that challenge. Just 6 days away now from the completion of the challenge, which would see us have run 420 kilometres over 30 days. That's been done with my daughter Alexis, who I don't know if some of you might have caught in the stream there over the weekend where we were playing a game. But she's been cycling along, kind of keeping me going, keeping me motivated for the majority of it. Not all of it. She had to take a few days off because her poor legs just couldn't keep up with the challenge. So no, fair play to her. She's helped me to get through it. And Podge and Pad Wheeling out there, guys, much appreciated, guys, for the support of the show. Podge is asking everybody out there to hit that like button, guys, and he's saying happy high day to everybody. And with that in mind, before I get stuck into the main body of news, guys, I will blaze one up with you guys. So much appreciated for the support of the show, and to everybody else who's after commenting out there. No sound on YouTube again. What in the name of goodness? Boom, boom. No, it's still getting sound on my side, guys. No sound on YouTube. No sound. Ah, bollocks. Why is that happening? Okay, so I got no sound out there again. Guys, apologies for this. It must have happened when I switched the scenes. Where'd the music go? Bollocks, anyhow. This is so fucking annoying, guys. Let me know there what the story is out there. Are you getting my audio coming through at all? YouTube is good here for Mistawes. Excellent. Nice one there for that, Mistawes. I'm not too sure what the crack is. Is the mic plugged in, Martin? Yeah, it's plugged in, alright. Let's get Tennis YouTube on for me as well. Yeah, Twitch is Gucci. Excellent, guys. Nice one for the heads up there on the mic. Maybe I'm seeing a few repeating comments coming through there. So apologies there for that. Delighted. Excellent. Let's drive on with the show, so will we. Yeah, before I drive on, actually, I was packing up a bowl there. Excellent. Nice one again, guys, for all the comments coming through and ensuring me there that the sound is good. Yes. I was freaked there for a second thinking I was after losing it. Oh my god. Oh, if you could only smell what I just grinded up there. I just got some fresh bud off of the old florist, me florist buddy, and jeez man, it is packing a pungent old smell. It is absolutely divine. I just grinded up what was a small little nug of it, and ooh, so just I don't know, like it's hard to really put on it like what it smells like. It's like its own unique smell. It's not like anything I've ever smelt in terms of fruits and smells before, but it's like, man, I'd like stick it under my nose and smell it all day. Oh, let's hope it tastes just as nice, even though the first few bowls there earlier today were mighty. I see, Pod, you've only got some CBD out there, man. Well, I suppose at least you have something, I suppose, you know what I mean? To keep the old fingers busy. But yeah, it definitely doesn't substitute for some good quality high THC bud. Um, but it will fill a gap, all right, for the time being. Short period, maybe. Mr. Always says it's a real smelly smell. And Peter, see what's happening. He says he's smoking with me in the Ukraine, bro. Nice one for that, you. And I hope all is well over there in the Ukraine. Be interesting, yeah. If what are you smoking, Peter, man? What's the scene like in Ukraine? Is it hard to get bud over there? Is there much of a community going on? Be interesting, all right, to see a bit of feedback there from yourself, Peter. If you got it, nice one, man. John, what's happening? Johnny says, I can smell you all the way down here in Tipperary. It's dank. Karen's asking, what's the strain? The strain is actually Critical Kush. It's one that the gardener has been doing for a while now, but it seems like this particular batch just has a different aroma from the last type. So maybe he's after getting a different phenotype after coming through this time. Maybe it's he might have changed some of his growing style. Who knows what was the story there? But it's fucking gorgeous. um. So right, guys, we have the first headline up on screen there, which is the story that was coming from earlier in the week, last week, which was the story of Paul Lee, the man who was done for €4 worth of cannabis. Well, Paul Lee has managed to have his say in an article that came out there recently in the Sunday Times. And the article starts with this. It says, disabled father of four charged and taken to court after being caught with just €4 worth of cannabis has blasted Ireland's drugs laws as a complete joke. Paul Lee, who suffers with osteoporosis and is 54 years of age, who has multiple fractures in his spine and hip linked with the disease, uses cannabis to control his pain. And he's been blowing Bantry, and he says that he's lost 4 years of his life to a heroin addiction. And he says he's been terrified of using opiate-based drugs which have been prescribed to him for pain relief, as he says just half of one of those pills will turn me into a junkie again. And that's his own words there. Last week, the part-time chef and gardener found himself pleading guilty at the Bantry District Court to possession of the tiny amount of cannabis and a grinder too. He handed over a grinder containing the substance to the Gardaí when they raided his home on the outskirts of Bantry on July last year, which would have been 2020. He's 6 previous convictions, including 5 for possession of cannabis, and the most recent dating to 2016. And again, the most notable thing here of the case from last week was the comments from the judge in the case when the solicitor defending Paul had looked for leniency in that of the what was it, a donation to the court box or community service. It was community service that Paul was looking for, and the judge said that I would not consider community service until I know he is clean, suggesting therefore that Paul Lee is unclean because of his cannabis use. But as we've just outlined there, he suffers from chronic pain, osteoporosis and multiple fractures to his spine and hip, which are linked to the osteoporosis. Cannabis is known to be an amazing pain reliever, And here again we have again another issue, or another victim of the prohibition of cannabis, where a patient who should be able to get access to pain relief through health professionals again has resorted to breaking the law and obtaining cannabis illegally, putting them then in the firing line of our peacekeepers, the Gardaí, the guys who were supposed to protect us. The Gardaí raided this man's home, and they found a tiny amount of cannabis in there, and they brought him to court for it. Absolutely appalling. Well, again, as I say, Paulie got to have his say in this, and he spoke with the Sunday World, and he told them that he said, I have osteoporosis at the moment, and I have between 5 and 7 fractures in my spine. He said, I have problems in my hip and possibly a blown disc too. It's a genetic disease. My grandmother had it. We've all had it. And I've been treated for it for the last 5 to 6 years in Bantry. I could be in a wheelchair in 3 to 5 years over it. I don't want to be, and I'm doing everything I can to stay mentally and physically strong. But it is continuous pain, and I'm in pain right now. Detailing the medication he has been prescribed to cope with his pain, he outlined how each day he's been prescribed 50 milligram slow release Plexia, 50 milligram Plexia. That's all morphine, and one Anzicam, Anexicam. Geez, I don't know how that's even pronounced. But ANXICALM for anybody interested in it, which is the new word for Valium. He says, but I don't take any of that. I take a small amount of cannabis. And asked why he won't take the prescribed drugs, Paul says it would lead to him losing everything and everyone he loves. He says he came to Dublin in the late 80s to get away from his heroin addiction in England. He says, looking back now, that seems mad. There was more heroin in Dublin back then than there was in England. From 9 in the morning, there was young lads in the steps of Oliver Bond, the flat complex that he lived in, selling smack. And that was 32 years ago. But he did get off heroin when he came to Ireland, and he doesn't ever want to end up back on it. He says he spent 4 years as a teenager banging up heroin, and they gave me all this stuff for my pain. I mean, I was like, what I could have... I could have taken 20 of them at a time. He says, give me some alcohol and I'm off, baby. But I know even take half of one of those tablets and that's it, I'm gone. It was if I was on that stuff, you'd have called to me today and I wouldn't have a house. He says, if I took all that morphine and Valium each day, do you honestly think I'd even be here able to talk to you like this? He says, I'd be looking for smack in town, or off in Cork or Dublin like all of the other people robbing and trying to get my next fix because of back pain, he says. Well, I'm not going back to that life. He says, smack already took 4 years off my life. I'm a family man, for God's sake. I cook roast dinners every Sunday. He says, I have my children and my granddaughter. I haven't even seen yet because of COVID. He says, I've worked in this town for years and I know everyone and I have never given anyone any hassle. But effectively I'm being criminalised because of my medical condition. He says, I can honestly stand up anywhere in front of anyone and say, I can't understand where I'm going wrong here. He says, I'm not saying to legalise cannabis for everyone across the board. He says, I'm not saying everyone should be sitting around and getting stoned or bombed on it. He says, as far as it goes with cannabis, legalise or at least decriminalise it for medical need. Stop arresting me and stop bringing me into court. All I'm asking is that the politicians and government exercise a little common sense. And asked what the reaction of local people had been to the publicity over his recent court appearance, Paul answered, I mean, it's an embarrassment. It is embarrassing that everyone knows I was a heroin addict. But at least people now know why I don't want to take all of that stuff that is being prescribed to me. If I took all of that stuff, he says, I'd be a zombie. It's time to change these laws. It's ridiculous. It's a joke, and I would happily go to prison to see them changed. What is the sense of making criminals out of people who are just trying to live? And there you go. That's coming there from Paulie himself, and that was a recent article that he took part in the Sunday World. Someone has since been in touch with me who knows Paul Lee, And apparently Paulie is looking to get in touch with me. I've since sent him my number, and I'm waiting now for a call back from Paul, and hopefully I'll have him on the podcast at some stage to have a conversation with him, so he can share with you further his story and his journey as a person who's been looking to use cannabis medicinally, and has since bared the brunt of the law as a result of that. So I think it's absolutely appalling, and I know many of you out there agree with me. After sharing this story last week, I seen a massive outpour on social media with people kind of really lambasting the judge here and the authorities for even bringing the man to court for such a small amount of cannabis. It really highlights the need for a different approach to this. People like Paul Lee getting caught up with the law when his only crime is he's a person who is sick and suffers with chronic pain. Paul Lee's brought to court because of his cannabis use, but we have other people out there like Alicia Maher who've been exiled from Ireland because of our cannabis laws. Like Alicia Maher, who I had on the podcast just under a year ago now. She's in Alicante where she's getting cannabis for as little as €3 a gram, I think she is saying over there. And that's amazing, €3 a gram she's able to get cannabis for over there. I'm not too sure how much she would be using a day, but it really goes to show the possibilities that are out there. Should we have a regulated market here in Ireland, the price that patients would have to pay for cannabis would be pennies. It's only so high because of the prohibition and the suffering that we've seen here in this case, and in the case of Alicia. It's all caused because of the current prohibition of cannabis, which has severely hindered the research going into cannabis and its therapeutic uses, thereby supporting then the prohibitionists and their argument that, look, there's not enough evidence to support the medical use of cannabis, therefore we have to keep it illegal. It's complete bullshit. The UN there had an opportunity to remove cannabis from the Schedule 1, and they didn't. They kept it there, thereby supporting the prohibitionists. They did remove it from the Schedule 4, which was the most extreme of them all, but they still left it in Schedule 1, which is the next most extreme of the schedules out there. So still we have a bit of a way to go yet to make change here, but again, as I say, the people out there, we will be the real catalyst to change here if we can really unite and build a massive movement of people rising up against this. As Paul says here in his article, he's willing to go to the prison to see change. We need more people with that conviction here in this, because that's the only threat here to put us in our place, is that the authorities will come and put us in prison. Well, feck, like let's not be afraid of that. Do you know what I mean? They can't lock us all up. Let's remember that. Power in numbers, guys. United we stand and divided we fall. And it really is. That's what's going to get this together. So I look forward to getting Paul on, and hopefully over time, people like Paul, more people like Paul will start coming out and sharing their stories and being more vocal and more of a challenge to the authorities and the way in which they treat us. So I do look forward to that conversation, and hopefully I can bring it to you soon, guys. So we drive on, guys, because in other news out there, we have 70,000 worth of cannabis was seized in County Cork, and that was a seizure that came in yesterday here in Cork City, actually, where the Gardaí carried out a raid on a property on Shandon Street, and that was at 8:30 p.m. Yesterday evening. And at the property, they've discovered €70,000 worth of cannabis, and they arrested a man aged in his 30s. He was brought to the Garda station in Mayfield under Section 2 of the Criminal Justice Drug Trafficking Act of 1996. So again, more wasted time here by the authorities. 70 grams worth of cannabis, so that's about 3.5 kilos of cannabis. Again, potential here for many patients who would have needed access to this. People like Paul Lee, who would have needed access to cannabis through criminals, because our government are irresponsible and childish and they're ignorant. I could call them even much worse names, but I'll keep it PG for now. And I agree with you there, Mustawa, is 100%, man. We need another election, because our government are responsible for what we see here. multiple units of the Gardaí coming out raiding a property where a man was selling some cannabis to the community. The man was providing a service to the community, a service that's long been provided in the community by people like himself. And unfortunately, people like himself are not able to set up a legitimate business in order to employ people, in order to pay taxes, because, again, of an ignorant government. So 100%, Mr. we need another election, and we need one fast. We do certainly have an opportunity for people out there in Dublin, in the south of Dublin area. Is it Dublin, the South Bay Dublin constituency, I think it's called. But there is a vacant seat, and it is being said that the by-election would happen possibly in maybe July, meaning that there could be an announcement over the next 4 weeks. So again, shout out to anybody up there in that area of Dublin, guys. Get yourselves together, pick yourselves up, and run as an independent. Just running issues that are close to your heart. But again, if you're out there, you believe cannabis should be legalised, and you live in that area, there's nobody running in the constituency who is going to represent our community, then fucking by all means go for it. Like, I would consider it, like, do you know what I mean? There's been donations coming in there at the moment for the show, and as I say, I do hope to set up a cannabis activist hub. But fuck it, I wouldn't think twice, do you know what I mean? If there's going to be nobody running in the South Dublin Bay constituency or whatever it's bloody called, I would throw 500 quid out there to put my name forward on that, and I would go up and I've family up in Dublin who would be more than willing to put me up and accommodate me for the 2 weeks of the by-election campaign, you know, and I would nearly run in it just to get the issue heard. But I would much more prefer if somebody out there from the constituency would do it, because you would have much more clout in the area than me as a Cork person. But maybe it would be interesting, you know what I mean? A Cork man running in the Dublin election, do you know what I mean? That could draw more attention to it for the. But who knows? Like, let's see. But as I just a reminder, there will be a by-election happening soon to fill that seat of Owen Murphy, and that has to happen before November. And apparently, it's tipped now that it might happen in July. Maybe late July. So just putting it out there, guys. Do you know what I mean? Throw it out there. Let's see what comes back at me, man. You throw some ideas to the universe, and the universe can do some wondrous things with them. But in other news as well, coming out of Cork, there was over 30 grand's worth of cocaine seized in Carrigaline. Exactly €34,000 worth of cocaine that was seized on Saturday as part of, again, another warrant where a house was raided in the Beachmount area of Carrigaline. They found in a car there and the property the cocaine along with some baggies and weighing scales as well. Again, another man in his 30s here was arrested at the scene and taken to the Torca Garda station, and he's going to be appear before the courts today. He's probably after appearing before the courts today, but there was no update there on his court case from that. So if I do hear something from it, but I suppose again, like, you know, just to highlight here, more waste of time by our Gardaí. Cocaine here going to be destroyed now. What was destined for a market of people who, do you know, not everybody who uses cocaine is addicted to it. Not everybody who uses cocaine abuses it. Why in the name of God is the government creating this problem where it's sold by, you know, organised criminal gangs who cut it with God knows what, you know, Jerry Ryan, you know, as prominent as he was, you know what I mean, a celebrity in the Irish sphere, he still got adulterated cocaine. So again, our cops, our system is creating a problem where cocaine is being sold by people who don't even need to check your ID when they're selling it. You know what I mean? They don't even have to give you a label that's going to be, you know, that you could trust, that says this is, you know, whatever X percentage cocaine. There was a good thing done over there in Twitter with the guys in Vancouver. The Vancouver, geez, what are they called? I'm gonna look them up here now on Twitter. But it's run by some of the activists over there, and they give out bloody drug samples. In fairness to them, I shared it there up on my own Twitter page the other day. That's what I'm just looking for there now up on Twitter. Hopefully, I haven't shared too much shit, so it's not that far back. Drug Users Liberation Front, and that's in BC actually, yeah, BC, British Columbia. But I'll see if I can pop this up on screen there now for you so you can see it too. One second now. Boom, there you go. So like there you go. Like this is what they gave out. So over there in British Columbia, these guys have access to high grade, high efficiency devices that can analyze the drug samples, and therefore they can give quality assured drug samples to the drug users in the area. And they've been doing this now for a while, and this is their form of civil disobedience, but it's also harm reduction. So this is the Drug Users Liberation Front, if you want to follow them there on Twitter. These are some of the packages that they use, but here you see the cocaine, 100% cocaine, no cut, no buff. The heroin, it was diacetyl morphine 40% and caffeine 60%. Down with the meth, then methamphetamines 100%, no cuff, no buff. They gave these out as a form of civil disobedience to the drug users out there, highlighting a need for where the government should be stepping in to protect drug users like they protect them around other substances. When you go and buy any other product out there, whether it be tobacco, do you know what I mean? You're assured that the tobacco you're buying isn't going to contain any other fucking plants, because there's quality assurance put in place. When you buy tobacco from an organised crime gang, you're not assured of the same thing because it's coming from an illegal, unregulated market. So why would you buy it from the unregulated market? Too high taxes, but that's another fucking conversation for another day. But we afford these protections there for these drug consumers. So again, like this is a great way forward. And it's a much better way of doing things as opposed to leaving it in the control of these criminals out there who you don't know what they're cutting with it. Again, I know the topic of my show is always going to be cannabis, but it is drug policy reform is very much a target of the show too. And this is another highlighting a failure of wasted time, wasted resources. We should, if an adult wants to get cocaine, he should be able to just go down to a chemist. A chemist is for me, it seems like the best place for a person to go down and get cocaine. They go down, they buy a personal amount of it or whatever it is that they need for themselves. And they walk out the door, you know. If they start selling it, then there should be very severe punishments for a person who sells something in an unlicensed way. But, you know, again, quality assurance for the consumers is the most important thing here. The drugs have won the war on drugs. Drugs are fucking everywhere. It's more important now that we just ensure the quality of the supply. We ensure the quality of the supply route, because that's a massive problem too with the cocaine trade, is that the blood, just with the drug trade or the drug route, many victims of violence along the way because of the illegal nature of the trade. So, you know, again, just a wasted amount of time. A person in his 30s is going to be brought before the courts. This person should be facing what is a 10-year minimum mandatory. Again, that's nearly £1 million, based on the inefficient prison system we have here in Ireland, where it costs on average about 100 grand per year per prisoner. So that's about £1 million here if we were to lock this guy up for 10 years, as is supposed to be happening. Do you know what I mean? 10-year minimum mandatory. At the moment, we hear mandatory mask wearing. Well, that means you have to wear a mask. Mandatory 10-year minimums. Like, I don't know, like, our judges, is the mandatory apply to judges? Can they make their own interpretation of mandatory? Do you know what I mean? But really, like, what would happen is our prison systems be overwhelmed. We wouldn't be able to keep up with it. The amount of people going to the court with over the €13,000 worth of drugs seized, do you know what I mean? The amount of people who would be required to be given the 10-year minimum mandatory, our prisons wouldn't be able to keep up, man. It would be overwhelmed. Do you know what I mean? It'd be more overwhelmed than our bloody hospitals. and you know, it's ridiculous that there's so much money wasted on our prisons for locking up people for drug use, for drug dealing even. This shouldn't be the case. There's people out there who need help through the mental health services, and they're not getting it because the mental health services are going underfunded. But meanwhile, we're trying to treat people with drug addictions through the justice system. What in the name of God kind of a sick society do we live in? Like, do you know what I mean? These people are fucking idiots, like, who designed this. Like, but look, hopefully soon we will see change. There certainly is. There is light at the end of the tunnel. I see a change on the horizon. Like, and again, as I say, hopefully people will be the catalyst. People will just start speaking up and calling for change, because there isn't very much will out there at the moment within our government, sadly. And again, as Mustafa said, that we need another election, hopefully soon. So we drive on because in other news, the Gardaí have seized 60 grand's worth of cannabis, and another man arrested after the drugs were thrown out of a taxi. And this was coming out of Lucan. So above in Lucan, where this was yesterday, after the man in his 20s flung a number of items from the vehicle after spotting a Garda patrol car on the Ballyowen Road in Lucan on Saturday afternoon, that was. The officers from the Lucan Garda station stopped the cab and searched and seized 2 phones and the cannabis with an estimated street value of 10 grand that had been thrown from the vehicle. The man was arrested and taken to Ronanstown Garda station, where he'd been detained under the Section 4 of the Criminal Justice Act. And here we see again the first pack that was thrown from the car. But after the Gardaí found this pack and arrested the man, brought him back, they had a follow-up search on the warrant at a property in the same area, and around 2.5 kilos of cannabis with an estimated street value of 50 grand was discovered. The man has since been charged in relation to the seizure and was released on bail. He's due before the Blanchardstown District Court on Thursday, the 17th of June 2021, and as they say, the investigations are ongoing. Meanwhile, meaning that we as taxpayers are paying for more of this shit. Like, do you know what I mean? This was the cannabis that was seized at the property. 2.5 kilos here, 1 kilo in each of the packs, and I would imagine at the front here, what is already tapped into, probably what was used to fill up this bag. You know what I mean? The man was probably using the taxi to go off and do a deal, and he got nabbed on the way. But again, here, our Gardaí not missing an opportunity to get their old tweet out on the subject. Again, more wasted taxpayers' money. There's a guard out there. There's literally a guard out there with a phone or a computer or something, and he's paid money, or she has paid money, to sit down and fucking tweet this bullshit. Pat themselves on the back, like, look at us doing a great job. Look at us, lads. We just see 60 grand worth of cannabis, like. But meanwhile, like, you actually go into the comments there in the of the tweet, and what you see, like, what's not muted or what's not deleted by the Garda info, it's ridicule. It's they're all lambasting the Gardaí, like they're giving them a hard time, ridiculing them, like, well done Gardaí, massive seizure, taking away somebody's medicine, taking away a plant, nobody's ever been killed by cannabis, go catch some real criminals. These are the kind of things that are being said time in and time again, all of the time up there in the posts. And yet still the guards still tweeted, they still posted on Facebook. They're constantly doing it, and I think they're just trolling at this stage. I think they're just trying to get their interactivity up on the thing, because again, as I say, there's somebody paid for this. And at the end of the month, or at the end of the quarter, whenever it is, this person's brought into a room and they're looking at statistics, and they're like, look, our Facebook page is up. Look at all the comments we're getting. No, like, meanwhile, like, a fucking 90% of the comments are a load of attacks on the Gardaí for the way in which they treat us as cannabis consumers, and the way in which they parade their work online, as being good work. And again, as I say, I'm not commenting on their stuff anymore. I'm not sharing their stuff anymore. I'm going to cut the shit out of it, you know what I mean? I'm not going to share stuff. I'm not commenting on their stuff, affect them. Because, as I say, I think there's somebody going in at the end of the month and they're like, look, our statistics are up. The interactivity on our Twitter is up, or the interactivity on our Facebook is up. So just a word of warning for you guys, what you might be feeding into. If you don't want to see more of this stuff up there on their Twitter and their Facebook, you know what I mean? Like, don't interact with it maybe. But who knows? So we drive on from there, guys, because after this one, there was more cannabis, and sorry, I have all my pictures up there, spoiler alert. Gardaí have seized 77,000 worth of cannabis in Roscommon. And again, the Gardaí being the Gardaí, somebody out there getting paid to do this shit. Boom, a tweet on the subject, and the Gardaí have seized €76,800 worth of cannabis and arrested a man in his 40s following a search of a property in County Roscommon this morning. Really, what this should be saying is Gardaí have arrested a man, a gardener, at his property who was growing his own cannabis. Really, like, it's 78,000 worth or 77,000 worth. Like, come on, in fairness, like, most of these plants are in a slight vegetative state. You see them all, they're quite young plants. Even Tony Keogh managed to argue successfully down the value of the plants in his court case last week, the €200 a plant, based upon the maturity of the plant. So again here, I would imagine the total value, I'm seeing maybe a couple of mature plants here, maybe about 5 or 6 mature plants in total. So again, 5 or 6 plants worth about €800 each if they want to value mature plants at that. All the rest of them are about €200 a plant. Like, again, like this person here could have been an amazing individual within his community or her community, or a man in his 40s. So this man could have been an amazing individual in his community, growing cannabis as in a craft kind of a way, in a nice sustainable way here. Although some of the pictures here, while this one is from the outside of the property, looking to be inside in like some sort of a greenhouse, polytunnel type of thing. The others then do seem to be inside in a tent underneath some artificial lighting. But again, the person has the outside environment there, where they could have been growing cannabis under the sun. Maybe they felt the need to be growing some of it indoors in order to just continue to keep the grow going, because they're trying to, I don't know, like as I said, this person could have been catering for the community, creating jobs, but now instead they're going to be brought before the courts. The guards are wasting their time thinking they're dealing with a criminal, but they're dealing with nothing but just an ambitious gardener. And that's all, like a cannabis enthusiast. Like, who knows, like all of these cannabis plants could have been all different strains. The guy could have been growing, multiple different strains, trying to get enough to keep himself going for over the year. Maybe some of it was destined for patients. Maybe the guy knows somebody who suffers with osteoporosis out there. Somebody suffers with epilepsy, with cancer, with glaucoma. The list goes on as to the number of people that this person could know and could be trying to grow cannabis in the most affordable way possible, which is by the high quantity of plants grown in a greenhouse outdoors using no artificial lighting. And now the person has got almost 80 grand's worth of plants, based upon the valuation of the Gardaí. They're going to be brought up before the courts now and painted as some sort of fucking criminal mastermind, 80 grand, like that's a lot of money, like when you think about it, like before the courts, like that sounds like a lot. But again, in the scheme of things, when you break it down, like maybe this person was trying to cater for 5 or 6 other people there in this, and that was all personal use. It was not for profit. Or maybe there was compassion in there. Again, if you're out there, if you were involved in this, if you were the guy in the 40s, and if you would like to share your story, man, I would more than happily have you on, because I think it's absolutely ridiculous what goes on here. The Gardaí raiding your property on an early Saturday morning when you're probably sitting down to have your breakfast. I don't know, are you a family man or what's the story? Who was there in the house with you? Because that's going to be probably a traumatic thing if you were a young person in the property. So again, so many questions there I'd love to ask you. Why were you growing so many plants? Not that you have to defend that, but obviously I'd be curious. Was there patients involved? Was there a network of friends? I don't know, but if you're out there, do let me know. Again, a man in his early 40s was arrested in relation to the seizure, is currently detained under provisions of the Section 2 of the Criminal Justice Drug Trafficking Act 1996 at the Castlereagh Garda station. So we drive on from there, guys, because we go from one cannabis bus to another, but this was going to one that happened in Killarney, where in Killarney there was €23,000 worth of cannabis seized again over the weekend. And this was as part of ongoing investigations. The Gardaí from the Kerry Divisional Drugs Unit searched an apartment in Killarney town at around 11:30 p.m. on Sunday, May 23rd. So this was just last night. During the search, Gardaí seized 23,000 worth of cannabis, suspected cannabis, a weighing scales and a number of plastic bags. A man in his 30s again was arrested at the scene and detained at the Killarney Garda station. He's since been charged and is due before the Killarney District Court later this morning. And he's since been before the court where he was actually refused bail. The Gardaí said that there was a flight risk there. Apparently, the guy actually had a flight to Portugal booked for this evening, so there was a high chance that he was probably going to get on that. And over in Portugal, as we all know, yes, drug use is decriminalised, but obviously, if he was caught with that amount of cannabis in Portugal, he would be facing a criminal proceedings again because drug dealing isn't legalised over there. But still, nonetheless, a waste of our Garda's time, a waste of the court's time here, and a missed opportunity again for the state to make some taxes here, a missed opportunity for the state to protect consumers, a missed opportunity for the state to protect kids. Again, last week, again, many echoing concerns from the Gardaí, from the FSCI as to the dangers towards kids because of cannabis jellies. But meanwhile, why are criminals selling cannabis jellies? Oh yeah, because legitimate businesses can't sell up and sell them from a legitimate premises where they can put an age limit in place and maybe some proper regulations around the way in which these products are packaged. I would have no disagreement as to maybe a plain packaged kind of approach there to cannabis and cannabis edibles. I would agree with that towards all drugs, to be honest, including even alcohol. I don't agree with the advertising of any drugs, and that's just my opinion. I don't think any drug should be advertised. Budweiser, Heineken, all of it. Do you know what I mean? I'm that's just my opinion. I think it's weird that we have like the Heineken Cup, a sports event sponsored by Drink, and obviously, look, I'm that's not to disregard, like, yeah, there is a big culture of drinking around sports, but at the same time, there's a culture. I get together with my buddies and we smoke cannabis and we watch UFC. Do I think that cannabis should be sponsored by the UFC? Do I think there should be I don't know, a division in the UFC called the Super Skunk Division or something? You know what I mean? I don't know, like the lightweights or something. I don't know. I don't want to see that. Like, no, I don't think it's appropriate, especially when there's so many young people there who would be watching these things. I don't think that's an appropriate way to be positioning drugs in our society. And yes, alcohol is a drug. I think it's very negligent of us to do that. And in one arm, we're warning as the kids about the dangers of jellies, but meanwhile, we have the Heineken Cup and we've kids going around wearing fucking jumpers and t-shirts where there's like Guinness across it or there's fucking Budweiser across it. You know what I mean? The sports jerseys, sponsors, things like that. Like, again, do I want to see a kid going around wearing a United jersey with fucking I don't know, like Foxworthy Farms on it? Shout out to Foxworthy Farms as I'm wearing their hat. No, I don't think it's too appropriate. Like, but look, that's a conversation for another day. Like, that's a conversation for the day and when we have cannabis legalized. Again, if you're this dude down in Killarney, man, if you want to come on, obviously you're locked up at the moment. Yeah. But if you get out at any stage and if you want to come on and share your story as to what the crack is, I'd more than gladly give you share the stage with you and have a conversation. So we drive on from there, guys, because we go from Killarney, then we go from Killarney to Galway. Where in Galway there was 20 grand's worth of cannabis seized over the weekend. This was a raid that was carried out in at a house in an estate in the Murrah area, and this was in Galway City. There was a kilo of cannabis found at the property. 2 men, both in their 20s, were arrested at the scene and taken to the Garda regional headquarters in Renmore. They have since been released without charge, and a file is now being prepared for the Director of Public Prosecutions. So again here, like a small quantity of cannabis. It's a kilo of cannabis when, again, two people in their 20s after being arrested at the scene. A complete waste of time by our Gardaí going out, carrying out a raid. 2 young people, again, now their futures are jeopardised. These 2 young people could have been ambitious entrepreneurs. Maybe if they existed in a society where cannabis was legalized, maybe they would have went and got a degree, much more like myself, to better understand cannabis, and went and set up their own cannabis business. They're probably not bad people. They're going to be brought before the courts now as drug dealers. Drug dealers. Oh my God, these guys are drug dealers. No, they're fucking florists. Do you know what I mean? They're people who bought cannabis and they were probably going to sell it. Like, in fairness, like ambitious students, possibly ambitious students up there in Galway. There's a big population of students up there in Galway. Like who knows? Like, but again, major missed opportunity by the state to create jobs, to protect people, to protect kids. Again, all the same applies as from the last story. And I see John Finnegan is asking there, he says, Martin, have you seen that jiu-jitsu competition where the competitors get stoned and smoked during their bouts and the prize is a couple of ounces? Yeah, it's actually, was it a pound of weed was the prize? A pound of weed, which is like, what is it, like just half a kilo, over 500 grams of cannabis? So it's like quite a few ounces in fairness. I had a buddy actually from our local gym here in Cork from Samson Martial Arts who got sponsored to go out there and to compete in it. That was the High Rollers Jiu-Jitsu competition. That's the name of it. An amazing competition. And again, like it really goes to show that there's a great opportunity out there, because again, you look at Jiu-Jitsu, there's an incredible amount of people in jiu-jitsu who consume cannabis before they go rolling. So, but in rugby, like, is there many people who would drink a few pints before they go out and take part in a rugby match? Like, I don't think so. Like, so again, like, there's differences. And I totally would endorse actually the High Rollers jiu-jitsu competition, because they actually actively encouraged the use of cannabis during the competition. So that's I'm a complete hypocrite actually. In fairness, like I've completely flip-flopped on my position from like 30 seconds ago. How dare I? But look, yeah, that's an amazing competition in fairness, and I love my bit of jiu-jitsu, and I would love to take part in that competition too. Like, Podge is saying there, but it is an amazing a few smokes after a rugby game just to relax the body, especially if it was a tough hitting game. There you go, like, and I wonder, like, if cannabis was to be legalized, there probably would be big barriers there in place for them to be sponsoring sports while meanwhile alcohol continues sponsoring them. There's complete hypocrisy out there around it. And we'll drive on there, guys. I will get back to your comments. Keep them coming in, guys. Much appreciated. Irush here says that Garda are like GameStop in reverse. You have €4 worth. They will tell you you've that it's €4,000 worth. I guess. So we drive on, guys, because we go from Galway then, and we don't have too far to go from Galway to County Mayo, where the next headline comes out of. And in Mayo, guys, in this story, there is a massive waste of resources here in this particular story, because in this one there was multiple raids carried out in Mayo. In one of the raids they actually found a paltry amount of €700 worth of cannabis, and they arrested again another man in the property. A terrible waste of resources here by the state. So up in Mayo, the Gardaí carried out a number of raids. In one of the raids, they found up to a kilo of cannabis herb with an estimated street value of €40,000. And that was when the Gardaí searched a dwelling in Kilsala in Westport, County Mayo. 2 people were arrested, a man in his 40s and a woman in her 20s. They were both questioned at the Castlebar Garda station before being released without charge. And a file now being prepared for the DPP. Again, guys, a massive waste of resources here. Multiple Gardaí going raiding a property. They have to prepare a file. That has to go to the DPP. They have to do paperwork. That then has to go back to the courts. More people involved. The court clerks, all of the judges, solicitors. Man, what a fucking web of waste here. Like, it's just like it just keeps sprawling out. From the moment a guard stops an individual, from the moment a guard enters a home and raids a person for any amount of cannabis, from that point on, it's outwards as a spiral of waste. You know what I mean? Multiple units of our public services involved in this, all paid for by me or you. Meanwhile, at the same time, we've a homeless crisis, we've hospital crisis, we've mental health crisis, we've a recession looming. Can we really afford this luxury of trying to force people into abstinence when meanwhile we know it doesn't work? Like, we really know it doesn't work, and it's a massive failure. And then in the second raid, as I said, another man was arrested following a house being searched where a quantity of cannabis estimated to be worth over €700 again, a file being prepared here for the DPP. So again, multiple Gardaí, multiple people, all man hours. Again, like, oh, it's crazy to think. It really gives me a headache thinking about like how much waste is going on out there. Like how many lives are just being wasted in this. Like people out there thinking they're doing a good job. Like I wonder, do they? Like I wonder, do the people in the DPP when they receive this file, are they like, for fuck's sake, like here another one like Cannabis, like, are they ever going to stop? Like what? Like I wonder, is that the feeling? Like, but these people can never really express themselves freely. Then, like, you know, I'm going to make efforts. I'll ring people up. I'll start ringing the DPP, and we'll start asking them questions. Are you sick of cannabis charges? Like, how many cannabis charges do you process a year? Like, you know, how much time gets spent? How long does it take to process a charge? Like, how much time is diverted away from other more serious charges? Is there a priority set? Like, you know, if you have a cannabis charge and a rape charge, like, is there a priority there between the two, or is it whichever one ends up in front of you first gets dealt with? You know, so many questions there. And again, in another house being searched in Mayo, in a third raid carried out, another quantity of cannabis was found, valued above as €1,500. You know, and again, another man arrested here, and a file being prepared for the DPP. So again here, like, just to highlight this, and I don't know, like, we always hear about gender inequality, but we look here, like, you know, 95% of the people here that I've mentioned today getting arrested are men. Thereby meaning, like, you know, if you're a man out there in today's society, if you're a young man, you're much more at risk in today's society, being targeted by our Gardaí and being arrested and brought before the courts than if you were a woman. And that's not to say that there's less women out there involved in this game. I know plenty of women, you know what I mean? That you want Miss Bud Tender there, like, you want Gemma Green, who took Chase down the motorway, like, you know, she was into it, like, obviously our fella was doing a bit as well, like, you know, but that's not to say that women aren't doing it, but by and large it is men who ends up in front of the courts. So it's kind of an interesting one, I suppose, just to be mentioning there, I suppose. Women do get away with things. I know for myself, with my own partner, when we would go places, she'd be like, you know, do you want to throw something into my bag? You know, if I had a bit of weed on me or something like that, she'd be like, do you want to throw it into my bag? Because, like, if two male officers pull you in, if two male guards pull you in, they can't search her. Do you know? So that's the mentality there. But yeah, she would kind of take that approach too, and unfortunately, then women actually get used as mules more often than not because of that. Is, you know, Gardaí have a tendency to go after guys more than women, so women then can be used as mules because of that, you know. It's very unfortunate. But we drive on, guys, because we go from Mayo, where there was a massive waste of resources, over to Kilkenny, where in Kilkenny a man was in court over a growhouse that was discovered in the city centre. And there is some dispute out there whether actually Kilkenny is a city, but look, we won't get into that here on today's show, will we? No disrespect to anybody out there in Kilkenny. But in Kilkenny, where a man was caught with €55,000 worth of cannabis plants, which were seized during a search of his property on Wednesday last. He was up before the courts, and interestingly, in this one, actually, the detectives had to travel to Cork to arrest the suspect on Saturday, and he was detained then at the Kilkenny Garda station and is due to appear before the Kilkenny court later today. Again, like, a man who was caught with €55,000 worth of cannabis plants, you know, complete waste of time. This was a raid that happened last Wednesday. Missed opportunity here, €55,000 worth of cannabis plants. Like, if that was to be sold on the open market, like, think of the taxes that could have been made. Instead, we have guards travelling from Kilkenny. Like, I'm sure that cop is delighted, like, you know what I mean, driving down the motorway, like, window down, tunes on, maybe having a few phone calls there with the boys, like, yeah, just Dawson here, heading down the motorway there, going to stop off a Supermax on the way there, like, yeah, I have to go down and get a fella there, he was caught there with some cannabis plants, like, you know. What a waste of time. Like imagine, like, the guards are paid a decent amount of money, like, and he's driving down the motorway to come down and get this dude, bringing him up before the courts. I'm not too sure what the outcome was in this court case today, but still, you know, highlighting a massive waste of resources here. Meanwhile, as I say, there's services out there going underfunded. There's young people being diverted into the arms of drug dealers because the Jared Rose of the world are going underfunded out there. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, and yeah, Podge is probably dead right there. He says he'll be getting double too because he's traveling. So there you go. Like, he's on double pay, extra money there, all paid for by me or you. Like, it's so backwards, this society that we have. It really is. It's messed up. Like, um. Just looking at some of your comments out there, I just see Daily Talker's one here. He says, we want the Heineken cup. And he spent Heineken, High. Heineken. Yes, I love it. Love it. Well done. Um, yeah, I see some other comments coming in there. The Irish saying here the Drug Olympics, who's signing up? That's a funny one, all right. I definitely think there's a market out there for sports in which people can compete, where they are openly like using performance enhancing drugs. That would be an interesting sports league. But yeah, who knows? Maybe in the future. We'll drive on, guys, because in the final news story that I have for you today, it is I suppose it is one where with the Eurovision's cocaine problems, and I don't know if some of you might have spotted that out there, but there was a video going around there that suggests, that one of the Eurovision participants was snorting some cocaine. This was the winners, actually, one of the winners from the Italy group. Um, the person has come out since and said, no, it wasn't cocaine. I was picking up broken glass. But I don't know, like, I'll let you make up your own mind because I have. Boom, there we go. Back with you guys. Apologies, as I changed that frame, I hadn't added over the microphone to that one. I had created this one earlier. Apologies for losing that there. But as I was saying, you know, I played that in full speed first for you guys. And, you know, when I was looking at this originally, you know, this person made a claim that there was broken glass here on the floor. So I'll just play it back in full again for you. Normal. Head goes down, boom, you know. So you can see that there. We'll play it in half speed and we go back. So the first thing I said was that this person had claimed they were picking up broken glass off the floor. But if we look at this person's hands, okay, the person's hands are clenched, fists are clenched. There's no picking up involved in this, like there's nothing being picked up here at all. And then we look at them here when look, that person right now, where their faces, they're looking down at something. They're after preparing something. That's the way I would look if I had like a joint being prepared in front of me. Like if my blunt was in front of me and I was putting my roach in and get my weed in, I'd be looking down at it like, yeah, that's ready there now. Do you know? That's the way that person is looking at it. And then they're celebrating something, you know, that the fists come up. Watch the fists come up. Yes, yes, yes. Head goes down. Boom. Quick whip of the nose, like it has to be like that has to be somebody taking a snort in the line. Sorry, change that again. And then we look at this other person here beside them then that's biting their nails there next to them. Watch their look as that person goes down. Looks at them, looks down at them, and there's a little grin, do you know what I mean? There's that's a little smirk in the face to kind of say like, oh, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing there. Like, you know, like you see that face there, like look at that face. Like that's a kind of a like, go on, you good thing. Like, I don't know, like it's definitely not a look of disapproval. It's kind of a look at, oh, you cheeky boy. Do you know? So that's kind of what I was saying there. Apologies for losing the audio with you guys. Again, that was my bad. Lack of preparedness, but I just seen a few comments coming in there that I was talking to myself again. I don't know what your guys are of your opinion of that out there, but for me, like this person, once they said that they were picking up glass, and then you look at the video, there is no glass being picked up here at all. This person is clearly going down and doing something at the table with their nose, with their face, and it looks like they're snorting something. Going down. You know, they didn't block the nose. They didn't block the nose. If they done that, that would have been clear, obviously. But they went down and was like, do you know what I mean? Like a quick sniff of something. It had to have been like, you know, it really did have to have been something like that. Like we put up in full screen just one last time, just so you can see it. Like there's like, no, pay attention. The fists, watch the hands, and watch the person beside them looking. Like, you know, boom, down. That is definitely has to be. And I don't know that I even see the hand going. Like, look at the hand there. Look at the finger placement. Actually, like, oh my goodness. Like, I'm going to slow this down just a little bit more. The 2.5 down to a quarter speed. Does that finger come out? No. It could be. That finger very well could actually be over the nose there on that. Like, you know, very well could be. Like, look where the hand is here between the bottles, you know, and that very well could be over the nose. Like, it very well could be. Like, oh my goodness. Like I don't know. Like, but again, like, I suppose one thing I want to say, like I'm not trying to out this person really, like, but what I want to out really here is like, well, what's the shame? Like, well, what's the shame? Like if you were caught there doing a line of cocaine, like, well, what's the problem? Like, look at the person here next to him in the middle with the glass of wine. You know what I mean? With the whatever that crazy look is on that person's face, like that person has in their hand like an incredibly dangerous substance, which is alcohol, which could cause the death of that individual should they drink a sufficient quantity of it. But there's no snobbery there. There's no problem. Like, do you know what I mean? That, like, alcohol, as I say, alcohol could very well be sponsors of the Eurovision at some stage of it. I'm not too sure who the sponsors are there. But again, they have no problem with putting all this alcohol on display. No problem at all with it. But like this person comes along and is snorting a bit of cocaine, like, well, what's the issue? Like, you know, what about Mick Jagger? Like, in fairness, like, you know, another rock star, like, who had no problem admitting, like, he's back in his day, he was using a bit of cocaine. What's the problem? Even Oprah Winfrey and all even came out and said that she's used a bit of cocaine in her time, like, you know, so people have used cocaine. What's the big stigma around it because, oh, it's an illegal drug? come on, like, it shouldn't be illegal. Like, if this person wants to use a little bit of cocaine on their night out, like, well, what's the problem? Surely it's worse that a person has to hide who they are. Surely that's more damaging to the individual. Like, surely, like, they come out now afterwards and they're like, oh, I'll go get a drug test done. This person's gone through some severe anxiety right now, I would imagine, like, you know, because they're worried, you know, sponsorships, you know, future career. Oh, they're all going to think I'm a druggie. You know, all of this kind of nonsense that goes on there. You have to wonder, like, you know, if they had just come out and said, yeah, look, I was doing a bit of cocaine, but what's the problem? They said they're now going to go and get drug tested, but again, a big issue here is like these drugs will be out of your system within what, 24, 36 hours. It's cocaine. It's a water soluble drug. You'll piss it out of your system like a few diuretics there and plenty of water, and you wouldn't long be getting it out of your system. So it proves nothing that this person goes get a drug test. But it's just a joke, like, that this person has to come out and deny this, and they can't just come out and own it, stand up and just be like, yeah, look, it's a bit of cocaine, and take an opportunity to talk about maybe harm reduction, about maybe, you know, problems they might have encountered with dealers over the years and shit like that. Like, but obviously, look, this person is a singer and I'm not an activist, so I got high expectations there for him at that stage. So that's it, guys. Nice one, everybody, for your comments there. Much appreciated for everybody who's taking the time out of their day to comment and take part in the show. To all the guests up there in the hot box, guys. I hope you're all after having a good afternoon. As we roll on into the evening now, guys. I will be getting ready there now in a few minutes. I'll have one or two more bowls here before I go out on my 14-kilometer run with the boys. With Chase and Rubble, the Paw Patrol. And a big old child, yes. I picked my dogs' names. I pretend the kids do it, but really, it's me. I'm the big child. I love watching cartoons. Can't wait until the new baby rolls around until I can watch Bear in the Big Blue House again. But yeah, me and Chase, me and Rubble, we're all going to go out and we're going to run and enjoy ourselves. Going to get nice and high now before I go out and enjoy some of that runner's high. That's that Martin's World Martial Arts Tournament coming soon, coming in there from John Finnegan. Are you going to sign up, John? If I was to do it, guys, would you sign up? We do a white collar, high collar boxing night. That'd be an interesting one. Actually, in about 2 weeks' time, for anybody in around the Cork City area, if you want to get back into a bit of fitness, I'm going to be taking back up some personal training sessions, teach a bit of Thai boxing there, but we won't be able to teach classes for quite a while yet. So I have some early morning slots there from 6 o'clock in the morning if you're all interested. July 7th, or June 7th, sorry, we're going to be able to do these one-on-one training sessions again. So if you want to come up and smash some pads, do some boxercise, do some Thai boxing, if you want to do some circuits, strength and conditioning, do let me know. I got some slots there between 6 and 8 in the morning, so do let me know if you want to get involved. Other comments coming in there. Shameless plug there for myself. Podge, what's happening? Podge says it costs an average about 5k to do a raid, then it costs about 115k to house you in jail. You imagine where that money could be used instead if legal. 100% Podge, man. Imagine like where that money could be used instead, and on top of the money generated from the legal sale of cannabis, from the income taxes from the employees within the cannabis industry. Massive amount of money there that could be used for things like mental health services, like education programs around the harms of drugs and the correct way in which to use drugs, you know. Much needed in our society today. Irish are saying we also have a big data breach which doesn't sit well with the public. 100%, yeah, there is a massive data breach going on here at the moment, definitely. Would you? Oh. Sorry, guys. Skatanist says all of this money is a massive waste, but as David McWilliams said, Ireland is a country where little is manufactured versus people's money being shuffled around. The justice system is no different. Yeah, it's a massive, massive waste. Like, Daily Talker here saying so little is being made in Ireland. It's very disappointing. Yeah, it is very disappointing. You know, we have a massive opportunity to sell our products. We're known very much for our butter and dairy products. That's about the most. That's about where the buck stops with our manufacturing. After that, then I suppose it's pharmaceuticals. But really, like, you know, we have an opportunity to sell cannabis, I suppose, as a craft product. You know, we don't have to compete on a massive industrial scale. You know, producing very low value products. Do you know what I mean? It should be all about high quality. High quality is where it's at. Like, you know. And Ireland has a major opportunity there, and when it comes to selling itself as a source of high quality cannabis. Go on, Podge, with Feed the Birds. Yes, I see more pictures coming in, actually, guys. If you're taking part in the Feed the Birds campaign, keep your pictures coming into me, and I will do a segment dedicated to all your plants out there in the coming days. Maybe at the end of the week, maybe I'll aim to do something. And I'll start uploading them as well on Percy's Grow. I kind of have been not active over there myself, actually, for a bit, just because of college and all other things. But we will try to get a bit more active there as well. Skitana here saying it's wealth redistribution from the poor to the rich, a capitalist success, corporate Ireland indeed. That's very true. You know, you see the people going up before the courts. I've been there myself before, and there was 13 of us in there one day in court, and the judge separated us based upon whether we were working or not, and he gave all of us an opportunity to pay the donation to the court and let us all go away. He didn't even look at anything outside of, you know, how much were we caught with. Do you know, all that mattered, it was a personal amount. Do you know, it didn't matter if it was €5 or €100. It was personal amount, and that he was happy with that. There was 13 of us there. I think 5 of us were unemployed. No, I think there was actually five of the people were employed, and then there was 8 of them were unemployed. And the 8 unemployed got a €250 donation to the charity box, while the people who were employed had to pay, was it like I think it was like €500 they had to pay to the charity box, and all of us got off with a donation, and we all literally, the judge done with us all at the exact same time. It was ridiculous, like. um it was a complete fucking joke. I knew one of the lads who was working inside of there as well, like, yeah, and just your normal worker dude, like, you know, he was what was he working? I think he was doing he was a musician, actually, a gigging musician at the time. And he got hit with 500 quid, like, and as he said, like, you know what I mean, that's nearly 2 weeks work for him. It was ridiculous. Like, he said he should have lied and said I was unemployed, because there was no proof actually asked. Horrible the way in which we were treated and they're at there. But yeah, you're dead right, man. Wealth redistribution from the poor to the rich. I'm gonna blaze up this bowl there, and I'm gonna get through some more of your comments. Yeah, I see some of your comments there around the volume problems, guys. Sincere apologies. Yeah, someone pointed about his hands up in the air there as well. Yeah, Daily Talker saying here, don't masturbate or you just might go blind too. All right, I'm gonna blaze up, guys. There was a nudge of the elbow too there that Hype TCK was saying. I didn't spot that, you see, so that's why I'm glad I shared it with you guys out there. Many eyes on this will spot many other things, and yeah, it seems like it's very unlikely the person was picking up glass, like. Yeah, I see a lot of you out there definitely agreeing with that. This person was certainly snorting an old line. Podge is saying here, if that was Bertie, he'd snake his way out of it, no problem. Skitana saying, though my partner had a good point, there's children watching for why there should be no alcohol either. Treat all drugs equally, FFS, for fuck's sake. Ah, shit, I think there's some neighbours drilling out there. I hope that drilling noise isn't coming through to you guys. Apologies if it is. Um, Podge85 says there's three of them looking with a smile at him. 100%, like they all know what's going on there. Like they're all looking and they're kind of saying, like, "Ah, yeah, we know what you're doing there, Johnny Kid." They didn't expect the camera to be on him at the time, though. Probably bad timing out of him, or maybe perfect timing. uh, Mustawa says, thanks for keeping us all sane, Marty. Not a bother at all, Mustawa is. Teresa also saying, great show as always, Martin. Enjoy your run. Well done. Not a bother, nice one, Teresa. I always enjoy the run, certainly after a few bowls there as well. You can really just get off into that zone and have a nice old meditative run. Be very present and grounded, and I really like it. It's very therapeutic. It's an amazing escape. I really missed them. Monday nights actually for me should be right now. I should be getting my bag packed and heading off down to teach a Thai boxing class and to take part in a Thai boxing class. And it's been a good couple of months now since I've had the pleasure of doing that, and I'm sadly missing it. And I can't wait to get back to teaching classes again. But unfortunately, we're going to be restricted with one-on-ones for a while. But maybe that'll change sooner, hopefully, than later. Podge is saying here, I'm only getting back to my fitness again after getting the all clear and the negative results. Oh, that's right, man. You had a bit of a downtime there because of being sick, but your COVID checked out negative. Happy days. Mashar Fudge says, checked my 420 Gorilla Grow, looking well in the heart of the town. Yes, delighted to hear that. I'm going to have to add to Cork City's Gorilla Grows there now as well, actually. Mustawa says here, we'll pop another Feed the Birds pick up on Twitter for you, Martin. Going to be fair more soon as well. All going well. Excellent. Delighted to hear that there, Mustawa is. For Grace says, just joined after work, missed the loads. We'll have to catch up. Hey, everyone, belated happy 420. Excellent. Welcome along, Ferg. Hope you're doing good. Hope you weren't working too hard today, but Podge85 says, if looking for a few new bits, check out R420 Supplies. Go on, Podge, get it in there, bye. R420 Supplies, sponsors of today's 420 News. I was only a click away, said I get it in there again. Skatanist also saying, going to be taking some fresh pics of my Feed the Birds progress today and then start a fresh batch of seeds. Yes, delighted to hear that. I see lots of people going on out there, guys, with the Feed the Birds campaign, overgrow the government. You know, happy days, great to hear. John Finnegan saying that's not drilling, dude. It's the boys trying to get in the door. Yeah, I hope that never happens too, John. Fingers fucking crossed. That would be a real heartbreaker if that was to happen. I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet, to be honest. Like, well, how vocal I've been, how outspoken I've been. The fact that, like, you know, every 420 News I come on here, I flash my personal stash like that. That there isn't, like, and I hope they don't. I don't want them to come do it, but if they do, look, I'm fucking prepared to face the music, like, I suppose, and what comes of it comes of it. Like, I'm doing nothing wrong. I'm standing up for my rights here, like, and if they want to come and try to take those away from them, well, look, I'll welcome that challenge any day, like, because that's what I'm here for. I'm standing up and I'm willing to fight for my rights, like, so fuck anybody who thinks they can take it away from me. WRT Gunner says, good work, Martin, been rolling up. Nice one. So, guys, nice one for all your comments coming in there. And just at the end of the comments, thank goodness, we're just hitting an hour 25. So nice one, everybody, for tuning in today. I'm going to pack up one last bowl now before I go down and get nice and hydrated before the run. But it's a pleasure as always, guys, to be able to bring the 420 News to you. We had a nice large audience there today as well. I believe at one point in time we had like over 60 people out there watching live. The audience was growing in more ways than one, so power to you guys. Much love to you all as well. Seriously, it really makes my day to see so many positive comments coming in. To be getting so many messages in my inbox, you know, for the support that comes through as well in the super chats and the donations to the Bitcoin through the link found on martinsworld.ie. But really, like, it doesn't go unnoticed, really, you know, and I appreciate every every bit of it. So keep the messages coming, keep the comments coming, keep liking, keep sharing, keep telling your friends about the show, and do you know, together, guys, we will be the thing that helps speed up the change here. We won't be the thing that brings the change, but we'll certainly be a factor that led to the speeding up of the change coming about. So together we're stronger, guys. You know, united we stand, divided we fall, and all that fun stuff. You know, I can't say that enough. You know, that's been the downfall of our community for so long. The way in which our community is it's been set up, you know what I mean? We've been led to be fearful of one another, you know, to be secretive about what you do. If you're growing cannabis, you know, you don't tell people and all of this kind of stuff. And yes, that is a very positive thing to follow if you don't want to get raided. But what that does in turn is it makes you distrustful of loads of people. It makes you isolated. It makes you cut off from the campaigners out there, from the fight for freedom. It cuts you off from your voice, from speaking up, you know, this fear. So, you know, this is what I'm here for, to give people the opportunity to kind of rise up together with others. You know, together we're stronger, and it's hard to do this alone. So by having this here, this hopefully will give people, you know, that opportunity to come out, whether it be on here with me as a guest, or whether it be in the comment box as a commenter. So many opportunities there for people to take part. Do you know, whether it be actually showing up at one of the protests that I organise. And I've gotten to meet many people through those protests, and I will continue to hold them. I'm working on one at the moment, and I will hopefully have an announcement soon. But yeah, you know, hopefully I can see more people show up to these protests and get to know more of you out there. But until that time, I suppose, yeah, we'll have more 420 news back here on Wednesday, and I hope to see you back here then. Last few comments there, guys. Working hard but barely working. Go on, Ferg. Podge85 says, I wouldn't wish that on anyone here. Oh my god, it's well rough. 100%. John Finnegan also saying, roundhouse to the head. If they do, you may as well get nabbed for something worthwhile. You see, that's my fear, John, that if the cops were come to raid my house, if the cops were to come and like break into my dwelling like that, I would feel the need to protect myself like that. They're waging a war on drugs like that. This is a war, and like I'm not entitled to defend myself. Like, that's so weird. Like, you know, it's so strange, and there's no communicating with these guys. And for me, I suppose, really, like, my real worry is if I'm sitting here right now and I can see out my window, and if I was to see squad cars and paddy wagons and the armed response unit pull up, I would probably do something stupid, like go and pick something up that looks like a gun and try to go get myself shot just to prove a point, you know what I mean? Just to have an argument if I was to live after it. That's stupid thinking. Like, I know, like, many of you out there would be thinking, Jesus, this fella's an idiot. But in my own mind, what I'm thinking is, like, these guys are coming here for cannabis. They're bringing guns. I've only got cannabis here. I have no guns. I'm no threat to these guys. But they would feel the need to defend themselves, and they could use a lethal force, that could ultimately end with the taking of my life, robbing my kids of a father. That's horrible. And I would hate to think that if I was to see that happening, that I might think that, like, and I might act on that. And that's scary to think of, you know, and that's a scenario that could happen. It really is, because more and more now the Gardaí are seeking to be armed. They are, like, and it seems that the armed response are assisting with some of these raids more and more. I've come on here. I've said now that I've openly said that I would be kind of wanting to defend myself if the Gardaí were to come. So maybe they would show up now because of that with the armed response. Do you know? Who knows? Just think about it, like, you know what I mean? Suicide by police is a very common tactic taken by people out there. That's not my approach. I would hope I survive the shooting. I would hope they might shoot me in the arm or the leg or something, somewhere non-lethal, so I can turn around and fucking argue with them then afterwards. Like, these fellas came and shot me. You know, they used lethal force against me at my home because of my standing up for my rights. My rights of bodily integrity, my rights, you know, of privacy, you know, all of that stuff. Horrible, man. But you know, nobody should face that. Nobody at all should face that. Podge there saying, hit that like and share button, guys, and spread the word before Martin goes. Definitely do, guys. I'm going to sign off after this ball there in one more second as I get through just the very last there comments. Alter Ego says, you'll never take me alive, pig. Shiting in a bucket says, oh God, don't do that. They would spin it their way. They certainly would spin it their way, alright, definitely. Like, but I suppose hopefully people would be able to pick up the narrative afterwards. Hopefully there's enough evidence out there as to Martin being, you know, just this fucking cannabis consumer, this advocate for cannabis and this advocate for human rights, and a non-violent person at that, although there is video footage of me out there baiting people in rings and me getting bait too in the ring. Goes both ways, I suppose. But yeah, that's Thai boxing fights if you haven't seen those out there already. But yeah, they would try to spin it their way, alright. I would agree with you there. Podge is saying never give them that reason and plan something better. Yeah, 100% plan something better, definitely. Like, you know what I mean? I would probably go out there with water balloons. That was something I thought of. Have some water balloons and throw water balloons at them and have them possibly shoot me over water balloons. That would be an interesting one. They could spin it their way then and say, well, we thought the water balloons were filled with acid. He might have filled it with cannabis oil. He was hitting us with cannabis oil. We would have been stunned for life. Hype TCK just about to roll one of my first today. Take care everyone and peace. And that's a sport though. From Podge. John Finnegan says, I hear you, pal. I was in a house that got raided and they came in like commandos and I couldn't talk to them, so we just started slagging them. They weren't impressed and went away with a 5-spot of hash after smashing your man's door and turning his house upside down. Horrible, man. Horrible. And he's left then with to put the pieces back together. You know, it would have smashed front door. He has to sleep in a house where there's no security there, where the doors are being smashed in and he has to pay then to have the door fixed. Horrible situation to be put in, man, just because of what, a 5-spot of hash. Scumbags is what these people are who enforce these policies. Just doing their job, though. They're just doing their job. Come on, like, if my job was to go out there and fuck up someone's life, like, you know, I would kind of question it and I'd be like, why are you paying me to do this? Like, this person isn't the problem. This isn't an issue. But no, we hire a bunch of robots who can't think for themselves and they're just, yes sir, no sir. I'll do that, sir. Yes sir, I'll follow that order, sir. Fucking robots. So we're going to go out there and put that lazy stoner mitt to bed again. And we're going to run another 14k. This will be day 24 of 30 and we're smashing it. I don't think Alexis is going to be joining me, but I will ask her. The weather is looking a bit dodgy out there as well. There's showers coming down every now and again, but to be honest, I love actually running in the rain once it's not too cold. But yeah, guys, thanks everybody for tuning in today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to sign off now. I will be back on Wednesday with more 420 news. Do keep an eye out for the dropping of an interview, as I said, with Amy Brown, cannabis activist, suffers with endometriosis. Had a pleasure sitting down chatting with her yesterday. And I will be dropping that interview hopefully late tomorrow evening, if not maybe Wednesday there. So guys, have a nice one. Enjoy your evening, guys. Yeah, stay blazed and keep it lit. Much love. Peace. Fucking drill.